Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands.
And he can't let her get away with this stuff. 50 Shades of Grey is the fastest selling paper book of all time. And the book's erotic content is some to call it mommy porn. She does not understand authority. It is an unbelievable story of sadomasochistic bondage of women. Women are objects. Well, you could become a Muslim, then you could beat her.
How can a pastor preach so adamantly against the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy, but beat it into a woman's head, wives, submit to your husbands? Many have objected to the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy as being pornographic, perverted, and glorifying abuse. Yet none of these protests have put a dent into the success of the 50 Shades trilogy. Perhaps the focus on the sexually explicit material appears to be just another religious attack on women's sexual freedom. Along with that, the book's main character, ironically named Christian, and Christianity have an eerie similarity on their views on women.
It means I want you to willingly surrender yourself to me.
The premise of the book 50 Shades of Grey is a young college student, Anastasia Steele, meets an eccentric millionaire businessman, Christian Grey, and begins a sexually explicit relationship with him that includes bondage, discipline, and sadomasochism. Christian's reasonings for demanding her submission is that Anna's submission to him fills his desire for respect and helps gratify him sexually. The parallel between Christian Grey and Christianity is that a man's desire for respect and the expectation of a woman's submission is a focal point for many Christian marriages.
The submissive shall submit to any sexual activity demanded by the dominant and shall do so without hesitation or argument.
Why would I do that?
Please me.
Dr. Emerson Emmerich wrote an entire book about how the wife has to respect her husband.
That he has a need for sexual release at some point. And so who meets that need? How does he get that need met? There's only one person that can meet it. So he's coming home and he's expecting that.
Scriptures such as Ephesians 5:22, which states that wives submit to their husbands, are used to show that marital bliss can only be achieved by turning the marriage into a hierarchical relationship with the man as the head. The concept of submission and respect are then imposed on women as a godly duty. If a woman ever has difficulty in her relationship, she may be hammered by counselors with questions of whether or not she submits and respects her husband, rather than counselors examining the behaviors of her husband. The expectation for a woman to submit can also be used to justify a man's abusive behavior. A man who stonewalls, neglects, verbally abuses, or even physically or sexually abuses his wife can blame her, claiming that he is only reacting to her lack of godly respect and submission.
Roll your eyes at me again, and I would take you across my knee.
It's about all kinds of sadomasochism. It's about bondage.
So right out of the gate, when he's explaining the subject of marriage, he starts out by saying, first of all, we need to understand that the husband is the head of the wife, that the husband is the boss.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
This same justification can be seen in the character of Christian Grey, whose behavior is only in reaction to Anna's defiance of him. Christian protests of the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy appear hypocritical because both groups expect women to be submissive and defer their authority to the man. The concept of suffering for love appears in many Christian doctrine, making religious-based abuse difficult to identify. Enduring persecution for love is expected. The wife is expected to endure, bearing up punishment to prove her devotion to her husband and her faith. The idea of Christian Grey punishing Anna in a sexual context mirrors this same idea. Anna desires Christian. As a result, she is expected to endure the punishment he gives her in a sexual context in order to receive the promise of pleasure from him. Since marriage is the only proper way to have a relationship with a man, it's like spiritual blackmail, where to be married, a woman has to accept the man is ruling over her or have no relationship at all.
But then we wouldn't have any sort of relationship at all.
This is the only sort of relationship I have.
But when Christian doctrine carries the expectation of mistreatment, to leave abuse will be considered by some forsaking the faith. This is devastating to those who choose to be in a relationship with God, but find themselves in an abusive situation. However, religious abuse is not possible when Scripture is used in its proper context. A woman can be strong without being seen as reneging on her values. She will no longer be a victim of 50 Shades of Christianity. Share this video if you want women to overcome religious abuse. To learn more, read Sullied Bride by Jasmine Andrews. Sullied Bride investigates many biblical misconceptions about women, starting with Adam blaming Eve for the downfall of humanity. In the process, it uncovers a dark conspiracy to subvert the authority of all women and a callous deception where Adam was a murderer and Eve was his first victim. Sullied Bride is available at Barnes & Noble, or you can order Sullied Bride on Amazon.com.